Do, 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 do.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, or whenever the hell you decide to watch this video. Today, we will be talking about the 1987 RoboCop, um, brought to you by Justin here. Not the remake, not the sequel, not the third one, but the original RoboCop.
Didn't they have a series too?
Yeah, the series was okay.
Oh, wait, they had actually had TV series?
There were two live action TV series and a miniseries.
And a cartoon.
I remember the cartoon.
Like 3 cartoons.
Oh yeah, 3? That many? Okay.
Something like that. I don't know.
Jesus.
There's more than one. There's always a hidden one out there somewhere with these kind of properties, you know.
And I'm sure there's some like anime version in Japan that no one knows about but them, you know.
Probably.
All right. So, why this movie, Justin? What part of this movie tickles your fancy?
Well, you wanted us to do sci-fi that we remember from when we were kids. And I watched this movie, The Burbs, Hamburger High, and a few others almost every weekend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was like...
That explains so much.
Yeah. Or, not Hamburger High, Hamburger U. There's about a bunch of people at McDonald's University sort of thing. And then shenanigans happens. Don't watch it. It's bad.
Is this like Canadian TV PSA type movies or what?
No. It was like a Porky sort of, but themed at like a dropout university kind of thing, you know? Like
Gotcha. God, another movie that didn't age well.
It aged perfectly. But no, I like RoboCop. I don't like people that don't like RoboCop. It's that simple. It's a very simple line. Do you not like RoboCop, Connell? Do I have to have words with you?
No. I thought RoboCop was fine. I just thought it was an interesting movie. I mean, I remember they came out in '87, so when this movie came out, I did not see this movie in the theater. I was like 87. I was 4 years old. Apparently, Aliens and RoboCop was okay, but we didn't do. We did not do RoboCop.
Oh well, it was one of those that kind of the marketing part where we all remember the beginning scene with the Ed 209 malfunctions.
Yeah.
Apparently, that it was so violent that's what gave it an X. They had to cut it down a little bit for that scene.
I kind of remember that toy. I remember that being a big toy. I remember RoboCop alarm clocks. I remember some of the nonsense toys that they had. I shouldn't say nonsense, but some of the, toys that was out there. But I think RoboCop, to me, didn't come onto my radar until maybe the second movie came out.
Yeah, but that was what, 1989 or 1990?
Yeah, 1990, and then
maybe the cartoon. I don't know what Brad made me think. Hey, I'm going to see RoboCop, but no, it's a good movie.
Well, we had the VHS, so we had pretty much everything sci-fi that Canon put out, which is like pretty much everything Canon put out.
Who did this one anyway?
Paul Verhoeven?
No, I mean the company.
Canon.
Okay.
It had the big C and the stupid thing that came across like this.
I don't know how much baby food that they sold from this movie.
No, this was Orion Pictures.
Was it Orion? Okay, yeah. Then it's that's the Orion. We had a bunch of Orion films too. So.
All right, so I guess we'll do the regular questions with this movie. It doesn't. Who was your favorite villain? Because there was more villains in that
Foreman
than there was anything else.
Yeah, it was Red Foreman, 100%. Yeah, I can tell Mark was doing that too. I mean, I remember seeing that, and then I remember him going to that '70s show, and I said, "Wow, what a kind of a change for that."
Yeah, my internet's being a dick.
Mm,
It must have caught whatever Home now has.
mhm.
So, all right. So, Home now, you said Red Foreman, or the guy who
Oh,
played.
I was with Justin 100%, and I think
Yeah.
Justin too.
Yeah, everybody's gonna. He was for being such like a small little. He looks like a smaller type guy, but he just was like so over the top and mean and just whatever. He was he was great. He was
Oh, it
great
was
in that role.
well, you could tell he was smart. He
Yeah,
wasn't afraid of most stuff. That's what
right.
how do you want to put this? He was a complete sleazebag, but
Yeah,
he wasn't someone that was completely terrified. That's one thing I did like about him is they did not make him an incompetent villain.
Yeah.
No.
right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dick Jones, up there. Like, oh my God. I liked when they did that. It was the what was the guy's name that where he came in and shot him in both knees?
Oh, that baby.
Bob
Yeah. Like,
Morton. Bob Morton.
yeah. I was like, all right, that, no problem. I like that. Bitches get out.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out that guy I was saying he was an executive. He was actually Bob's assistant.
Oh, I liked him.
Yeah, the one that got shot in the boardroom there.
No, the
Oh,
very
okay.
beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was like the other assistant, not the
Not the
not
black
the
gentleman.
Right.
yeah, the one who ends up becoming Bob's replacement in the show, I think.
Well, he was in the second movie.
Was he? Was he?
Yeah.
Hmm. Good character. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the guy. What is his name? I think when it came to the villain of the movie, Kurtwood Smith, who played.
Yeah.
It was. He was good. He was good. I mean,
Yeah. Um.
I like seeing that one guy get hit by the acid and just kind of melt away into a
Yeah.
gas.
The
Oh, yeah.
melting guy. Oh,
Yeah,
Emil.
there's some
Well,
good deaths in this movie.
I liked Leon. I liked who was the other guy that was the other black guy that was gay?
It was gay.
That was gay.
No, remember they were talking about that.
Oh, Joe. Wait, no, I have no idea. I'm looking at the cast and I'm like, no, these people are in the second. No, that person's in the third movie. So I'm like, the cast I'm looking at. There was the Asian guy, Steve.
Joe Cox. That's the guy that was the assistant.
Yeah,
Jackson.
maybe.
Because I'm looking at the three primary ones here, which is the Sergeant Reed, Jackson, and Joe Cox.
I will say this: no one in this movie was an affirmative action hire.
Wow.
I mean,
Maybe the mayor.
Well, I also found it funny is that this was shot in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, which is
but
fun.
based in Detroit.
Yes.
Dallas was the Dallas Police Department is the one who ordered the initial production of the Beretta 93R, which was the base gun for RoboCop's sidearm.
Okay.
It was the one with the 3-round burst.
This film was also a big commercial for the Ford Taurus. I think this was the first year. All the cops cars, I think, are the Ford Taurus.
Yeah,
Well,
I think this was the first. That was the first year. I think the Ford Taurus was in production. I think, if I'm right, if I'm remembering right.
I mean, I did like this. Not that I like all of Paul Verhoeven, because sometimes I just want to smack some of the movies he's done. But for this, where they did the tongue in cheek with like the accidental the space platform accidentally shooting off. And,
Killing 2 former presidents.
Right.
the,
Um,
what was
I,
the other one that they did where it accidentally, with the 6,000 sucks?
oh yeah, that was supposed to be the it started with a P, I think.
The 8 miles per gallon.
Yeah, it was 8.2 mile. Yeah, the commercial, and it was saying it was 8.2 miles per gallon.
No,
I like
it was a riff on another car. I looked it up earlier. Even though it didn't look like it, I'm going through my history right now.
what was it? I like the game, the Nukem game.
Nukem.
I actually wish that they, back in they still do it, but sometimes they'll like come up with a game that they made up in the movie and they'll sell it merchandise. Pirates Dice from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It'd been nice if they would have made that one into a actual.
The 6,000 sucks was the Pontiac 6,000.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be making fun of,
Okay.
even though it
But-
looks nothing like it.
But I mean, it's a darkly satirical, both comedic and action. And I like
Yeah.
but it also had emotion into it, where he's going through trying to remember all of his family and things. And, that was part of the problem with RoboCop 2 is they just cut that entire thing off. I'm like, okay, you cut it off and now you have no emotional thing to it.
Well,
Yeah.
I could
Wasn't
see
he kinda
that.
stalking his ex-wife in this sequel.
He does, like, she complains about it, but they truncated the resolution to that storyline in the movie, and then when they tried to reintroduce it in the series, it just came off as annoying, like, 'cause it was always at sufferance of the story of the week. So just
I mean, even if he remembers her completely and the life he has with her,
Mhm.
that he's a reverse Pinocchio. He's not a real boy anymore. I mean,
Well,
that's-
it's the materialistic age of the 80s. They can always put a suction cup rubber thing on.
they did it. Granted, they did do it with Data.
No, data was fully functional.
So it was Joe Cox.
Yeah, Joe Cox was the
Yeah.
So,
was,
I thought the concept that a corporation owned a police station was scary beginning.
well, I think they were just subsidizing it. They didn't actually own it.
So
And
it was contract police officers, which the whole point was. Did you get the which they talk about? We've got into non-traditional things, and they go through all of the utilities and stuff like that. And the point was is that they were making, and anyone that's played Cyberpunk or Shadowrun, that's exactly where they take a lot of this stuff from.
Yeah. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Because wasn't that a whole plot point? They kind of slid it, but they said they were making moves and getting certain transfers to certain police departments for their plan for their projects, and then the corporation, like, after whatever happened, it's like they own the police officer after whatever they met their demise or whatever else. They said that he signed away his rights to whatever else, and before they turned him into the RoboCop, they said, he's ours.
They're mid working on him. It's like, his other arm's saved. Well, why don't we just save it? No, cut it off, put a prosthetic on there. But what do you think? Yeah, he did sign the waiver.
Lucio,
Okay.
I mean, just the cold, none of the people in the corporation were really portrayed that well as decent human beings.
I think I
No, it was all heartless. I mean, even when that one guy, the first guy, bought it in the boardroom, they're like, "Well, let's just move on to the next product. Let's bring out the next." This guy's like seizing his opportunity right away and not even just taking in that this guy just got blown away here, and he's like going to the CEO. I got a contingency plan for us ready to go. It's ready to launch. Blah blah. I can have it to you ready within. It's
Yeah,
like,
at the end of the day, I
ruthless.
can give you a this was very this one like what was the other one we did that was very much 80s? The Breakfast Club. This was very much an 80s movie.
Yeah, but it was meant to
Yeah.
be over the top. It was meant to knock corporations, which the sad fact of it is that's kind of where we are anyway. But it was okay. We're going to privatize everything. Let's go privatize the police force. Let's go do this. So you get the government contract to run the police force, and that's something to see in a lot of the cyberpunk world. It's like, oh, who gets this?
Art is supposed to imitate life. This movie kind of imitates the other way around because I went to a doctor's office. There's a reason why I bring this on. I go to the doctor's office, and there's a little thing on the wall saying our doctors are technically are contracted, and they don't work for the hospital. They are contracted to work at the hospital. And I'm like, well, that's great. So do the police officers, our local police officer, are they just contracted to the city? So once they're contract up, can we move them around? So there was bits of this movie, and it was like they kind of nailed bits of it on the head before certain aspects happen, which is always just kind of creepy as hell to me. I don't think they're gonna, cop Joe Smith. Joe Smith dies, and the organization, picks up the body and makes him into a RoboCop. I don't see that anywhere near our far future. But how much corporations buy out this has always been kind of interesting.
Well, and that's part of the thing. I listened to one of the guys. He's talking about all these private firms are looking at healthcare, and hospitals as a profit margin, and so the idea is not to really, anyway. But that's the whole point of it. Is this is supposed to be a satirical look at, where things go if you allow corporations to run everything with no oversight.
Yeah, the Corporation of America.
Well, that's what a certain class of libertarian says.
I without getting political, I know a little bit I know a few people from each side of the parties who wouldn't mind the Corporation of America. So I think it's a I don't know, it's a thing. It's a thing. I'm trying to stay out of the politics right now.
No,
although
well, the problem is that everyone takes the most extreme view, like a lot of stuff, and it's like, well, okay, there need to be checks and balances, like everything else.
Yep.
But to be fair, when the space laser went off, I did make a joke, and I'm like, "Oh no, don't let Margaret Taylor Greene see this. She thinks the Jews will be attacking us."
Well, she was making fun of people that actually say that, but I don't know. Looks like the British are trying to make them one.
Well. Here's the other part. So you have to understand 1987, and again, that was part of SDI and the Strategic Defense Initiative, where everyone's talking about orbital space lasers shooting down.
Yeah, the Star Wars project.
That's what everyone called it, was Star Wars.
Right.
And I was all for it, but like everything else, is what they tell you versus what it said, what they promise versus what they deliver are two very different things. And it was like, oh, this will be cheap. It will only cost us this amount of money, and then after the fact, like, well, no, not really. It's 100 times more expensive. But we had,
What would you guys think? What would you guys think if somehow the RoboCop program, let's say, was actually a real thing? Some poor bastard dies and doesn't have a wife, no family, just him.
Well, it's not as cruel if you put those conditions on it.
Well, and the thing is that
But
signing someone away. I mean, effectively, RoboCop is a zombie.
mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a zombie apocalypse that they've put stuff on. but whether you like it or not, is there you go. Is when we're talking about what about space zombies? And like, well, RoboCop would count, wouldn't he?
Yes.
That's,
I
Um,
guess.
with the programming at the end of the movie, not
Yeah.
so much because he gives his humanity back. But
yeah. Well, I mean, he had part of it, but yeah, when they're trying to come back over, and then I thought that again, it's on the second when they tried erasing some of that. It was, yeah. But I did like the fact that he was able to, when he goes through and it says, directive number 4 or whatever, classified. I like the fact that they left that in, that it was in there just in case. And so, if this is your first time watching it, you get to see a lot of things like, oh, okay, that's what that was.
Directing for. Yeah, I have a little backdoor program saying that, if you work for the company, if you're, top. Sorry, we cannot arrest Martha Stewart. She's the CEO of her company.
Are you saying that she's not a lizard person? Instead, she should be.
I said arrest. I said arrest. I didn't say what species she belongs to. That is between her and her.
she is not actually a lizard person.
Um,
Now she might be a slave to them.
well, I don't know. There's a bunch of.
To me, what it would really come down to is, hey, if you died, you wanted to go into this program. And a lot of people, some of them would say yes, and some of them wouldn't. And, like, I did like, and I'm going to mention some, I know we didn't watch this, but if some of the beginning part of RoboCop 2, where they tried replicating it and like how they kept killing themselves, every time they tried replicating the series, like one of them pulls his head off, I think, and another one shoots himself. Yeah.
As I said to Scott, as I told Shadow, only one per Trinity, one per series. I did not want to watch all the Planet freaking 8 movies. I did not want to watch all the Star Wars, Star Trek movies. I was actually kind of I thought about that when I was watching this movie. I'm just like watching bits and pieces of it, and there are so many, and I was thinking, should we try maybe the third one? The third one wasn't that bad. And I'm like, no. And I'm like,
the third one was horrific.
Was that? I don't even remember. I don't even remember.
I like the
much
third
of
one better
second
than I like the second one. I remember the second one being bad.
The problem was, and I'm going to remember, and Mark probably remembers this is when they were advertising for it. Oh, it's this. And they're all doing this for Kane. And you're like, oh, okay. And then I hadn't seen it. And to be fair, I never watched, when I first watched RoboCop, I said, I'm not going to watch something that's indestructible, blah, blah, blah. And my friends were like, it's not like that, man. And, after I saw it, it's like, yeah, you're right. It is a really good
Yeah. I think this movie had a lot more onions and layers in it than they initially expected it to, because it seemed, the whole thing seemed, the title of it seemed like it was going to be totally stupid and silly. And I think I'm wondering if maybe they initially thought this was going to be like a straight to video release type of movie, and it turned out way better than they anticipated. The whole thing of it seemed kind of stupid and silly, but it turned out being just like have a lot more depth and a lot better storyline to it than the premise of the whole thing.
Did the sequel make it to the theater?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the second and the third one didn't. I don't remember, but
I don't know.
Because it's rare. It's rare for movies of that era to have more than maybe one other movie in the series actually go to. I mean, make it in theater. I mean, Jaws is always going to be an example because there's like 5 fucking Jawses and they all made it in the theater.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're saying that, but I mean, this was a huge blockbuster. Plus, people loved it. It was an excellent film.
Yeah.
That's.
I think the problem with Verhoeven is that he suffers the same problem that All in the Family did. People like his movies for the opposite of the point he's trying to make.
Well, Paul Verhoeven, I think in certain cases, he likes doing the satirical. How do I say this? Commentary on whatever's going on, but it only really works for one film. because you know otherwise you kind of play the same stuff over and over again.
Well, there was stuff that they could have exploited in RoboCop for the sequel, but they cut it out. Like Connell said, I don't remember. It was before my burger. I don't have a memory that far back.
but no, I mean RoboCop 2 I thought was going to do a lot of other stuff because I hadn't seen that.
Oh, him stalking his wife?
Yeah.
Well, that, but they also combine the stuff with his son haphazardly with the boy from the nuke van to try and salvage those parts.
Oh, right. When he goes and when the kid's trying to kill him and he stops because he reminds him of his kid. Yeah.
That was actually supposed to be two separate storylines.
Well, and I felt like they were just trying to force the, you know, and to be fair, that you can tell that the movie, you know, we're talking just about the second one, that that there was a lot of good stuff in there, and they just decided to cut a lot of it out. No, we need to see more RoboCop. We need to see more action, without realizing it's the emotional impact of why RoboCop is actually so good. The original RoboCop,
Yeah.
you know, ED 209 has what, probably 2, maybe 3 minutes in the entire film. Yeah, we all remember it.
Because well, it's like Ghostbusters, right? The remake didn't get the dramatic, like, for me watching that as not a child, the growth of Bill Murray's character emotionally is more impactful than the rest of the stuff, which is like good, it's fun, but the fact that this guy goes from being a wastrel to like trying to make himself a better person is, you don't get that in the remake. You get like fart jokes and
Wait, remake the all woman cast or the after?
yeah, the old, and I don't consider the one after that to be a sequel to the original.
Well,
You
sir, you
consider it to
are
be-
wrong, but that's fine. We'll move on to that for a different conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but we're, you know, there's, you know, for this movie, it's like it's got just about everything. It's got action, it's got intrigue, it's got humor, it's got
Baby food.
you know, it's what?
Well, that was a joke, right?
Which one?
Yeah.
Baby
No,
food.
it's just there's actually. All right. What was your favorite scene? I'll start with Justin. Justin, do you have a favorite scene in this movie?
I like when RoboCop pulls up to OCP after he's all fucked up, and the 8209 unit guarding the building. Actually, no. Before that, when what's his name? The bad guy, like the corporate bad guy,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dick Jones.
Dick Jones. Yeah, tells the CEO that he has an Ed 209 unit, and he just turns his head to the side, kind of rolls his eyes. That's the best moment in the film for me. It's like, you're just a
Gotcha.
fucking idiot. You can just see his eyes saying, "You're just a fucking idiot." That's like perfect. And
What about
then,
you?
of course, RoboCop just shoots the Ed 209 unit with like one shot out of the mega cannon.
That guy made
Well,
no
but-
freaking sense to me.
For which
What?
part?
Just in general, but we'll get into that. We'll get into
Okay.
that. What was your favorite part, Omanel?
Oh man, there's so many things I like in this one. You know, I like the part when, you know, after he gets Leon, you know, Leon, you know, catches the thing on fire and he brings him in, and you know when he comes over there and often the spike shoots out and then he goes into the into that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I like that. I liked about the fight. You know, the whole scene from the time that he decides to arrest. What is it? You know, Dick Jones. You know, he goes to arrest Dick Jones, and he's just sitting there. It's like, officer, can you just, you know, just that smarmy. You know, I just want to smack that off his face, and he laughs, and then he gets the 209 after him, and then after he escapes the 209, the police force, and he calls him in and says, shoot him. You know, I mean, there's a lot to be said for this. There's I think also part of it, and I gotta give credit to whoever did the editing. There was not what I felt like any wasted time or scenes in this movie.
No, I agree. This movie was had a good pace to it.
I mean the other part. I mean, okay, you know, several parts I like. Okay, I like that one. I also like the part when they're in the what was it? The equivalent of the cocaine factory.
Yeah, that
know,
was good too.
you know,
I like that.
yeah.
Oh, target acquired. Oh,
What about you, Mark?
My one of my favorite parts is when he went back to his was walking through his house that was now up for sale, and he had was having all the emotional breakdowns and flashbacks and stuff like that. Because you got to figure that guy would only had like this much to show really any type of emotion other than just him moving around his mechanical body. And I thought he did what Peter Weller. I thought he did a
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
fantastic job in showing emotion and all the trauma and everything he was going through with just that much real estate on his face to work with. So I thought I thought that part was I mean, and it was a step away from this. Everybody's thinking this is just going to be a shoot 'em up, bang em up action type movie, and this was kind of gave us another layer I really liked.
I also liked at the end when he's trying to get what is her name? It's the Ann Lewis. When he
Lewis,
goes over
yeah.
and he's trying to shoot, and she's like, "Can you correct this for me?"
yeah.
Until he can do that. I mean, I like that. It was there's a lot in there. All the actors did a good job. The ones you aren't supposed to like, you don't like. The ones you are like, you do like. Even the stuff in the in the police station, I thought did well. It didn't feel like there was anything like, oh man, they just cut stuff that shouldn't have been cut. I also like the part, when he first cut, what was the part where he walks into the convenience store? And there's I still also love when Clarence, the other guy gets the 6,000 sucks, and he's like, hey, look what I got, and he pulls out that assault cannon and blows it up. Like,
my car.
Yeah, I know exactly. It was you could tell all the kind. That was so great for Clarence. Just having that kind of aspect to it.
They built 2 of those and a prop one for that explosion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a bunch of good parts in this movie, but every time it focuses onto the TV and there's that one whatever gaudy show on there. I'll buy that for $1. It just made me fucking giggle.
Oh, that was perfect timing the first time you hear that. Like
Oh yeah. But I mean that's where the satirical part comes into it. I will also say this much. The music is classic. Every time you hear the RoboCop theme, you know exactly what it is immediately. It was well done. I
think this might be a short one of those streams where it's just gonna be a short day stream, guys, because we're all kind of agreeing on the same shit.
Well, doesn't that make a great movie, though? I mean, there's a reason this is classic. In fact, I saw that this is a Criterion collection. Of all the movies, that they usually put like the stuff that's in there. I think it's classic for this, but I also think, did it win any Academy Awards or anything?
I don't know. These movies don't normally do well with the Academy.
It was
maybe something for effects, I would imagine, if anything. But
I'm looking now. It was it won 11 of something and nominated for 13 of something else. But
it did better than I thought it did. But yeah, movies like normally don't do well.
Well, this one, let's see. Well, it did in the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror. But I'm like, that's pretty narrow. But it apparently got Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and what was it? A Special Achievement Award, oddly enough, for sound effects editing. But
I know when they were having him walking, when they finally decided what RoboCop was going to look like. I would love to see all the designs, all the just random fucking designs,
the prototypes.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But I know.
Okay, you go.
The actor had the studio hired a mime to come in and teach the guy who played
Peter Weller.
Yeah, how he was supposed to walk and move. And I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
He put on a bunch of like football gear and was walking around the parks and stuff. when he
Yeah.
first got it, and then it turns out the redesigns in the costume changed the shape of it so much that all the stuff he learned how to do on his own got fucking axed.
Well, and he
Yeah.
also, I think he was a fairly, he's not a huge, big, muscular guy, and that was one of the reasons I think that they picked him for this part so he could fit into the costume.
Mhm.
And then, of course, they'd always complain about him overheating and things, so they had to be careful on that. But
Right. I know the series went with the movies, not the TV show, but the series of movies went through 3 different actors to play RoboCop.
No, just the two. Weller was in the first two
He
movies,
was in this first two, yeah.
yeah,
and he would have been in the third, but he didn't like the script. It was so fucking bad.
Oh, good for him. Knowing this, sort of like was it Michael Keaton knowing when to say no.
well, and sometimes like, look, give me a better script, but this is also time of like, we'll just churn it out. It's popular, just keep churning it out.
Yeah.
I bought 1, 2, and 3 because it was in a collection of like $9 if you got all 3 of them together from like Walmart. I was like, well, if I'm gonna do that, and so I watched the first one. I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I remember. Then I watched the second one. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I should have stopped at just the first, and I didn't, and I could get into the third.
I liked Kane. Oh, so you go because I'm off topic.
Right.
I liked Kane, but the rest of the movie was like Kane was too over the top, and like as a person, but the robot was like, it made sense. But
I mean, it's a great thing in there. If you want to talk about cyborgs, Kane is, I liked some of the ideas in RoboCop 2. I did not like the execution in RoboCop 2 was the big problem.
it was
And a
too
lot of
rushed.
it, that like you said, is they cut certain things. They tried putting it in like you're supposed to feel sorry when the kid dies. I'm like, no, the kid tried strangling in. And I understand RoboCop stopping, but it was one of those moments of where you're just like, oh, we're supposed like, no, he's a little psychopath.
And I think they were going for a PG rating.
Yeah.
Or something.
Probably, yeah.
This movie had the same issue that Conan the Barbarian did, where the first Conan the Barbarian was just what it was. And they're like, well, we'll do a sequel. Okay. Well, let's make sure the whole family can go see it this time around. And yeah, that's what happened to Conan, and I'm feeling that's probably what happened to the second one of this one. Him in the suit,
wait a minute, RoboCop 2 was rated R.
They were trying to move for it, and they went for a hard PG on the third one.
Okay. Oh yeah. But I haven't seen the third one. I heard the third one was better than the second.
No.
I
haven't seen it, so I can't tell you. I've only
there are Japanese android ninjas.
I'm okay with that.
You're only helping it out here, Justin.
It had a jetpack for no reason.
You're only helping.
Not helping.
That's what the producers said too, and we got crap. Once you've got your 73rd topping on your hamburger, it's not a hamburger anymore.
It's called a garbage burger at that point.
It's called garbage.
If it's an android, more or less, because that's what he was. He was an android with a human brain. He should have, for the concept of selling toys, should have 101 different add-on components to his body. I want a rocket pack. Okay, let's give him a rocket pack. Does it do anything for the story? No. Does it do something for the toy line? Yes. And that's
good point.
What they were thinking.
I'm not saying it is. It's just funny, for all the things like we talked with Master of the Universe and how that really came out of the fact they thought they were going to sell a bunch of Conan toys and realized not for kids, But I think some of it is that once they put in the PG-13, because by the time this movie came out, PG-13 existed.
Yeah.
It's that they're like, oh, okay. So, I'm not just
PG-13.
What's that?
I'm trying to think what the Goonies was. Goonies PG-13?
I think it was PG.
I think it was PG, but it was Temple of Doom is what pushed Steven Spielberg kept pushing the envelope, and after Temple of Doom, they're like, yeah, we got to do something.
Well, it was Temple of Doom,
Something here.
Poltergeist, and there were a couple others in there. Because what had been if you look at
Yes, Steven Spielberg's antics kind of push for the
it was several
PG
of them
rating, I
that
think.
kept changing. It changed back and forth.
Yeah.
Where should it fall in? But I think the original PG. Like if you look at Barbarella, that was PG.
Yeah.
And so the meaning of PG had become less and less, and the
Mhm.
heart and the R's had become, that's what was in there. Because I remember plenty of nudity in PG films when I was growing up as a kid.
Yeah. I remember a lot of the old 70s and early 80s movies. It's just what's the rating of that movie? PG. Then why do I see boobs? It was the 70s. I don't know what to tell you. No,
I think Tina was PG, oddly enough, or is PG-13. I can't remember.
Can
It's just full frontal.
Can I change my opinion on best scene?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I have to change it to the same as I did for Starship Troopers, the shower scene.
Oh, it was yeah.
There was a pair of boobs that came by the scene.
Right. Yeah. There was just that one spot. Just they had to
It was just to make sure
force it in there and make a what co-ed locker room. Yeah.
Well, and they were trying to go. There was a lot of stuff in the '80s. The R movies were the more edgy, fun kind of things in there. And then
there was less nudity in Friday. No. Which one am I thinking? There was less nudity in Friday the 13th than it was in this movie. I mean, that was a hard R. I mean, some of them did show like boobs or maybe an ass, but for the most case, like the later ones, you didn't see shit.
So I mean, if you look at the PG-13, they would allow a little bit, which is what started happening at this time frame. But most of the times, what they were doing is, hey, we will go for the adult audience, even though the real money was in the PG-13. That's why you noticed in like the 1990s that they're trying to push all these movies to PG-13 and not getting them to an R, because they said, oh, an R is kind of a death knell for some of these bigger budget. That said, you look at all the classic movies that we talk about. I mean, Predator, Terminator, RoboCop, all of these things, they're all R's. And they're all classics, how many years later. So,
yeah. Well, you also got the tone, right? Like this movie's dark and gritty, and it's like when it's not daytime, it's wet out.
when he shoots the lady in the I'm sorry, through the lady's dress and hits her in the groin.
Brilliant.
I mean,
there's no way she wasn't getting hit with that too. You know that, right?
Well, but I also, I mean, when RoboCop pulls out the spike from his and stabs Clarence, and there's just this big burst of blood, and then what is it?
Well, all you do is see the blood splash on, and then there's like the hand. It cuts, and then the hand, and he's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
You don't actually see it go into him or come out.
I guess the USB spike, because that's what it looked like, a USB spike. Was that an actual thing for computers at one point? Or
no, that was totally made up for this movie.
Yeah,
it's just
the data spike.
I know that sounds dumb, but if you look back to a lot of the shit that they had for computers back in the day,
it's an aluminum spike.
Yeah,
it's just an aluminum spike.
It was a plot device that they could use. They foreshadow, kind of when he's in the police station, he uses it to plug in the computer, and then later on you see him come out with it again. You're like, oh yeah, it triggers in your brain your callback. Oh yeah, he's got that awesome thing he thought to use as the data device as a weapon now.
I mean, the laptop, I imagine most of us are on laptops, except for Omanow. He might be on his phone or his iPad.
Yeah, I'm on my iPad.
No, I'm not on a laptop.
But that's my computer.
iPad. The amount of space back in the 80s that would take to be able to use. So, he pulls up an aluminum spike I was saying. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, bullshit, that's not a thing. And the other part of my brain is like, do you see some of the shit that you find in retro stores for old-ass computers? Things that people used. Yeah, I question, but at the same time, it could have been a thing.
Well, you saw the server rack. There's standard server hard drives that you'd use today. They're just like a lot smaller. No, the ones that they had were the the standard, like the 3x5 inch.
I'm saying that. Well, see, I used to work on some of that stuff. A lot of that 3.5 inch stuff that you see, that came out later, than this. But actually, this was the other part I remember them talking about. Remember where they're doing the when he goes and rescues the mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, thermographic was so expensive at the time that it was cheaper for him to put everyone into paint, and so they did like tape and paint and just made them go naked, and that was what they did for the thermographic.
That's one of the graphics I wish they had in this film when he picked up when the woman was about ready to be
Yep.
getting a haircut. Shaving a haircut. I wish for graphic wise, if it would have just gridded out her body on just like not showing like boob or anything, but just grid out where her body was and his body is for him to make that shot. Basically the same thing when he was shooting the applesauce or the but if they could have just done that with him, I think that'd be freaking awesome. Awesome.
Well, I think they didn't do that so you wouldn't know quite what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it.
Terminator was out at this point too.
Terminator
Yes,
was
but it had a higher
1984,
budget.
wasn't it? 1984 for Terminator.
Something like that.
And it's been forever since I've seen the original Terminator. That might have to be on the list.
Oh, it's good. I'm going to tell you this much: if you guys aren't picking Terminator, I'm picking Terminator at some point. I mean,
earlier today I saw a trailer for the most recent Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Time to Pay, whatever. It's I'm like, there's a robot and it's time traveling. Does that count?
Well,
remember,
it just needs one of them.
Yeah, it only needs one.
just
But
needs
Time
one.
traveling counts.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
It's like I can't do even Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure had 2 robots.
But it just needs time travel.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that when I was watching the movie earlier because all these movies just they're different movies, but they all kind of have the same feel to them. I mean, if somebody said, you take out RoboCop and put in the Terminator in this film, would the movie really change graphically at this juncture? At that juncture?
No,
because they still had the you can see with the ED-209, they still had the stop motion.
Right.
They're moving.
Now I will say this:
animal broke up the damn wall too.
Well, he's a chicken. He's based on a chicken. Yeah.
Who is?
Ed 209.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I will say this: movie was far better looking than the remake.
I remember watching the remake, and I just went, sometimes when you make things more slick, it actually detracts from it, and that was the case, I think, with RoboCop.
Yeah.
What was the other one that we had, which was
like the cast more in the remake than I like the cast in this one. The first one, this one is a better movie. I will not argue with Justin. This is a better RoboCop movie than the remake. But Samuel Jackson, Michael Keaton, I like the guy who played RoboCop. I like the actors. I like most of the things that these guys have been in. Even the bad guy who was the little short guy in the remake, he's a good actor too. So I can somewhat forgive the movie. Myself can somewhat forgive the movie if it has at least decent actors in it. And I normally don't blame the actors for shitty writing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think. Oh, sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
Peter Weller is always going to be the titular RoboCop for me.
I think Justin's kind of arguing the fact, and I think Omen and I are on the same page. Like this movie benefited from having like an '80s kind of griminess to it. I think is what versus what I haven't even seen the remake. I don't even know. Did they make more than one when they did the remakes?
No,
Did they do more than just one? Okay, I haven't even seen the remake, but I think we're all arguing the fact that this movie is better as an '80s movie, even the way it was shot and the the resolution isn't as good and as slick as the newer stuff. This movie benefits from that whole 80s aesthetic story. Benefits from having that kind of griminess to it.
It needs that chonkiness of reality, and the remake doesn't have like the tactileness of existence.
It's too slick. It's the problem I have with it. When you start really looking at it, it just feels too. Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for like what you guys are talking about. Is I like that kind of the grace. And same thing with Alien. You can update all the stuff like Prometheus, but man, the stuff I really, of course, we're kind of laughing at it now. It's like, oh, in 200 years or 150 years, they're using the old TRS-80, but it actually had an effect as you start seeing the lines come across. And
the only thing I don't like about the Alien movie is that one room with the computer that's nothing but light bulbs.
Well, I've heard a legit argument for that. Is they were going on space travel was rough, and they were going on these long missions, and the whole idea of the toggle switches and all the analog stuff that would hold up and suffer the rigors of extended and space travel, that was an argument for that, and why that looked that way, and why it would be done that way, is that all that would hold up better, and like actual mechanical switches versus relays and things like that would hold up better in the rigors of space. So I thought that was a good argument for it to explain it looking dated, but
I'm okay with some things looking dated because it still has that feel. It's just like, I don't know if you guys have played anyway, but I it's the same way I feel about the newer Terminators. That older Terminator stuff really did have a feel for it. And we didn't know what the future would look like. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that what we have now is kind of really sad compared to what we were supposed to get.
Well,
I mean, all these movies were like 30 years in advance, and we're like, we're in 2024 now, and I still feel that it's, we're getting the griminess without any of the tech, the cool tech that I was expecting. Where are my flying cars?
George Jetson is now 2 years old. He was born a year ago. I don't know. I mean, when it turns 2000, I know I wasn't like 2000. I'm like, okay, where's my flying car? Where's my hoverboard? Where, damn it, are the Cubbies ever going to win the World Series? Those are.
There's a line that you should never flying car, hoverboard. Yeah, those are expectable. Cubs bring the World Series. What are you?
There's a few that, and I don't think this would count, but you look at what Minority Report is, and you look at what we have now, and you're like, but the other part is I think, in certain cases, like, well, we don't trust technology. There's more. This is one of those that had the dichotomy of technology and corporations. While everyone's pushing one thing, and this was the 1980s where people talked about excess, Donald Trump, everything else. During
the original talk about Donald Trump, not the modern talk about Donald Trump.
I don't know. Yeah, no, but I mean,
I'm making that clear for people watching this.
Yeah, but we're talking 1980s Donald Trump. Marla Maples. That whole thing of where everything was over the top. Who are some of the other big people that were out there? The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. That was, and then that you had the same problem, though, which is mentioned of Detroit being outcompeted by the of course this is when the era of the drug war was coming up, so they incorporate a lot of different elements in there, which I enjoy, but yeah, that's definitely one of those that's out there. And you can see it even in Predator 2, you can see in Terminator, you can see where people have their idyllic view of the world versus what the griminess that's coming out, and that was part of it. Is why did they want what was it, old Detroit to be this cesshole?
They could tear it down and
tear it down and gentrify it and make it whatever city, and then right away that guy was selling them on an idea he could be the kingpin crime boss of the whole new city. Yeah.
Somebody's
that,
gonna need to supply the go juice.
yeah, yeah, and that was pretty good. I still love Clarence Boddicker when he goes in and walks into Dick
His
Jones.
name is Red Foreman. He's only got the one name.
Hey Justin, that's only for you Zoomers. No, no, that's the. But no, but the part where he's going over and he has like all the cuts and stuff, and he goes with the secretary, and he's just like,
Let me fill you in later. Hey, can you make time so I can fill you in later or whatever? Like he does like a fill you in line.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that part
look
when
it
he's
up.
in there. It's the same thing when he's talking about all the drugs and they have the fight. You got to give him credit. Whatever scene he's in, he kind of steals. And to be fair, so does RoboCop. It's great having those two in there. And a lot of these actors did a great job as being the presence that are out there. The police strikes. That they were talking
Yeah,
about.
I thought the police chief, I thought he acted really well, and the issues he was dealing, with being a civil servant versus is probably butting heads with the corporation, the OCP, whatever, but intervening into his to what he's trying to do be a civil servant versus meeting the demands of the business and the struggles he had with that. I thought I could see that conflict too, and I thought that guy played it really well too, the police chief.
I like what they did where they had the SWAT team and then they had the regular police force. Where the police force
they're colliding. Yeah, it was cool.
And
it was good.
the police force decides not to shoot him, but the SWAT team does. And I thought that was well done.
Sergeant Reed.
Yeah. But yeah, this is good. This is a good 80s classic. It's kind of got elements of all the problems that were going on in the 80s, big corporation, drugs, and then it also brings in the issues and the problems with dealing with what it was probably a callback to like Frankenstein type science too, and the moral dilemma that we had with what's going too far, and what's life versus was a RoboCop guy really a guy anymore? Could you argue that he have a soul or didn't have a soul? It's just a lot of callbacks to things like that. So there's a lot of layers you could peel apart in this story and examine.
I just wish the RoboCop that pulled his head off in the skit in the second one had succeeded and was walking around. Wait 6 months, then pulls his head off when he remembers who he is.
Well, no, I think that's what they were talking about. Is they were going through each one when they realized who they were, and then they keep trying to erase it. And they said, "Well, we have to find a certain type of person." You had to find a certain, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Like I said, RoboCop 2 had a lot going for it, and they just seemed to flub everything. That was what got me about it. Is I had understand if I saw the script and they had done it, then once you see on the movie screen, like that's not what I agreed to. But I've been contractually obligated. Hey, Hungar, hopefully you're still, you're doing well.
Yeah, I was on a show with him and Bear just before I showed up here.
Okay, good. But yeah, I mean that's to me, it's the great thing about some of these 1980s films is that they bring up all of these different.
And it wasn't preachy, right? Like you could do
the
commentary and stuff without being.
Yeah, it had the social commentary and the problems of the day, but yeah, it wasn't over the top preaching a message to you. Is saying showing you, yeah, these are the problems we're having, these issues, and we're trying to deal with. But yeah, it didn't have a overbearing message. The message, getting across the message constantly.
Well, I still like the part with RoboCop where you're like, oh, okay, they've completely brainwashed him, and they start talking about his when he has a dream, and then they're like, what's going on, because when everyone's looking at him while he's walking. I still like his pistol, with the automatic, and for you, I don't know if you've ever played one of the games, but when you start looking at Cyberpunk and Shadowrun, Cyberpunk I think was a little bit before, but when Shadowrun, you can directly relate a lot of the weapons that they have in RoboCop to Shadowrun.
Yeah, that's got to be like one of the iconic guns in sci-fi, like just like the gun in Blade Runner and one in Logan's Run. But yeah, the RoboCop one has got to be an iconic
I
sci-fi gun.
I don't know. It's based on, like, it doesn't actually fire out through the entire film. But it's based on the Beretta 93R, right?
But
And there's the Beretta M93R, which is a far sexier gun, which they could have probably picked up.
well, I
off
mean,
the
but the
shelf.
gun is really cool looking. The other part is that when they do with the smart gun, which is again, I'm going to go for Shadow. I'm more familiar with it than Cyberpunk. You know, where
Yeah.
it's like wherever you point the gun, is it shows the reticle. You
Mhm.
know, that's so he knows where it's always pointing. You've got that. The assault cannons. You know, that was the big thing in Shadowrun with the Panther assault cannon. You're like, oh, okay.
I don't know if that was based on anything. I didn't look it up.
It looked like it was a 50 cal they modified. You know, and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
Yeah, I thought it was looked like a big ass tank gun. I don't know. I'm not much of a gun
Yeah.
guy, but yeah, it was a big looked like a tank. I was like,
I
how are
thought it
those
was
guys
a
even going to
Desert
carry
Eagle.
that thing around and fire it?
Yeah,
It seemed
I
like the
thought
recoil would have killed you, but yeah, it was.
when I first
the
saw it,
main
I thought Desert Eagle.
no, there was a Desert Eagle in it. That's what what's his name picks up in the box.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
in the corporation scene.
Yeah,
That was
at
that.
the end
Yeah,
where
yeah.
he falls out the window and his arms are 3 times longer.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, his arms look awful long in that animation there. I was like, what's
Well,
Yeah.
so I was reading it, and apparently, you know, when they cut down that scene, they kept showing from the front and the back, and apparently they cut it by like a minute or so. But the technicians are trying to go in the back of Ed 209 and try to pull wires to stop it from shooting. You know,
Oh,
I will
no,
say this
not
much.
that one. The one where what's his name gets shoved out the window at the
Oh,
end.
Dick Jones you're
Dick Jones.
fired.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
you're
yeah.
fired. Thank you.
His
And then,
arms are
but
3
yeah,
times
when he's falling from the window, his arms look like Freddy Krueger arms in that one scene.
the
They
first
look
one,
way
yeah.
longer than they
I'll
should
find
be.
a still of it.
Do anybody have like a favorite line and quote? I mean, there's so many in this movie.
Dead or alive,
Hey.
you're coming with me.
Yeah,
Thanks for your cooperation.
right. Omen, you got one?
Oh, there's a few of them. I'm just trying to remember the ones that are in there. It's just,
I'd buy that for $1. That's
yeah, I
I'd
buy
buy
that
that
for
for a dollar.
$1. I still, you know, bitches get out. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that little Weasley guy saying that with conviction. Yeah, it was funny.
well, I like with Clarence, and he shoots him in the knees, and you know,
Yeah.
and then he puts the grenade there, and he puts in the you know
CD,
the
DVD,
CD,
yeah.
and he
Yeah.
walks out, you know, and you see him like scrambling. You know,
You know, in that scene, granted, I know it's a fictional grenade that I thought was kind of interesting with the Timex countdown. Like, if I was him, not realizing how much damage the grenade would really freaking do. All right, hold on.
You see his arms?
Yeah.
And his arms are in on this. If I had gotten it a frame back, his arms are even longer.
Okay.
They're out more. Okay.
What was I saying? Sorry, the arms threw me off there.
Sorry.
You're talking about the grenade.
You're talking about the grenade.
I mean, there was furniture around him. I was thinking I would have like, at least pushed the couch over myself. I might not.
Yeah.
But remember, he was shot in the knee and he could barely move. You know, that was part of the thing.
He's
The
in
couch was like
shock.
right there. He still had an upper body to like, you know.
It's probably a thermite grenade too. So.
Yeah.
It took
You
out
gotta
part of
think
his head.
sci-fi with this shit, man.
Well, you know what though is you could, you know, that's one of the things that you could always have him come back if you wanted to, you know, for the sequel where he's, you know, he's got all the metal parts and stuff, you know. But
the actor died
robots
a
like
couple of years ago, but yeah.
well, I'm just saying.
Well,
But if you had done that in RoboCop
favorite-
2, you could have brought
Right.
that aspect.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines in this movie is towards the very beginning when Murphy is still Murphy and they're dealing with them in the very beginning, and they're driving. There's a chase scene, and Wood Foreman looks at the guy who's basically got kneecapped and says, "Do you fly, Bob?"
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
I mean, but it was setting him up as just such a bad guy, and yeah, it was.
Yeah, just an absolute dick.
Yeah,
I
but
think
it was so much fun.
when
That's what makes this film so great. Is it was a lot of fun, whether you like,
Right.
and then it had those multiple layers in there. I still
Mhm.
enjoyed, when he goes into the when he goes into the nightclub and he grabs
Mhm.
Leon by the hair.
Oh,
and starts
by the
pulling
way,
him.
the bar scene was the second pair
Yeah,
of boobs.
Leon.
For a hot second, you saw a pair of boobs at the bar. At
Yeah,
bar.
yeah. There's a girl. There's a girl. Actually, I think there's two of them. Right when he walks in, there are two girls, and the one's just wearing suspenders and no
Yeah,
shirt.
I saw that scene and I thought of you, Justin.
Yeah,
Um,
because boobs.
actually,
No one on their deathbed ever said, "I wish I'd seen less boobs during my life." No one.
I don't know. I once got flashed by my son's grandmother.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was because
I
she
said
lifted her shirt this high. I was like, you know what? I didn't need to see those.
I said less boobs, not a higher quality of boobs.
I could have dealt with two less in that case. But,
I'm sure Shadow feels your pain right now.
They were his boobs, after all.
I was gonna say. I hope the guy who played Peter, what's his name, got a decent paycheck.
Peter Weller.
Because all the prosthetics that he had to wear in this movie, that had to be a nightmare. I was watching the behind the scenes for the first Iron Man movie, and they were trying to make it where Robert Downey Jr. was actually wearing the suit, and it was just sorry. And that's like 20 years, 20 years difference between the two, and prosthetics still stuck no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the movie's just a lot of fun. It's like, okay, it's violent. You don't want your little kids to watch it, but
Yeah.
now my son's about 14 or 15. I'm like, hey son, would you like to watch RoboCop with your dad?
I mean, it's kind of got it all. It's got comedy, it's got horror, it's got sci-fi, it's got a lot of political commentary. It's got a lot. Yeah, it's got a lot of layers in it. It's a lot more than kind of what people went into the movie thinking it would be. It gave you a lot more to think about, really, than kind of what it looks like on the surface.
All right. Now, if we're going to talk about a line, I was looking through the various quotes, and I like this. It's back. Big is back because bigger is better. 6,000 SUX, an American tradition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
the Dodger commercial, yeah.
That was the commercial.
There was that. I will say this much: ignoring everything else, just the fact that how much Mark is talking in this one tells you how much he liked it.
Yeah.
Mark's one of the most vocal that I've seen him in. How many?
Right.
Between me, you, and Shadow and Justin, the poor guy barely gets a word in edgewise. That's all right, because here pretty soon, me and him will be starting doing the Dresden Files, and I'm pretty sure he'll still won't talk much.
Okay, I'm going to mention this much since we're talking about this. What's one thing you did not like in the film?
There wasn't enough boobs. I don't know. The film's pretty much flawless, man.
I have an issue with the tank sniper rifles.
Okay.
I didn't have an issue, but as I'm getting older, like the hardcore violence stuff and that, it starts bugging me. But so when he was getting all blown away and decimated by all those shots, I mean, when I was a kid, I thought, wow, this is cool, this graphic, gory violence like that. But as I'm getting old, I don't know if I'm just getting softer in my old age or whatever, but it kind of I kind of want to look away a little bit from that type of stuff now in my older age, but I
There's
don't
a
know.
3-letter word that starts with a G and ends with a Y, my friend.
Hey,
You are being it right now.
hey, a goy? No, but no. Actually, hey, Mark, I feel the same way you do. After a while, it's like, man, that's it. You know, the what I call gratuitous violence. I'm okay with violence. It's when it's over the top. But the one thing that really bugged me about this movie was the Ed 209 sounds that it made when it was.
Yeah.
When it
Oh,
was
because it was having like a temper tantrum noise when it was flipped over. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was some animal.
It's supposed to
some
be a
animal
chicken.
noise they took.
It's a chicken.
Yeah.
The chicken run through a synthesizer or something like that.
It was a hyena.
It was ran by
No, bro, I'm telling you, because this is what the DVD says.
Oh, okay.
The chicken ran through. That makes sense. Okay, well, then there you go.
growled. During like when they first showed it, it freaking growled at the guy like a jaguar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is it has the
It has other animals, but like when it's panicking and its movements are all based on the chicken. I think it's supposed to have a chicken brain as its processor or something.
Okay. Well, we were talking about classic. We all have to mention you have 20 seconds to comply.
Yeah.
He drops the gun.
You have 15 seconds to comply.
Right, exactly.
It's been longer than 5 seconds.
It's just with the rifles. I mean, they were
It's not
cool.
just broken. You
Don't
can't
get
tell
me
time.
wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought, he's like, well, we're gonna need some heavy gear stuff. And he's like, we are the military. So I'm thinking maybe some jacked up, rifle. I wasn't thinking he was going to be pulling out like sniper rifles. I'm thinking,
I think those are supposed to be tank busters.
They were assault rifles, what they called them, or no, it's the assault cannons. That was
that's a bit much.
It was just I think it was a director's point just to make it silly, over the top, whatever. I mean, in 80s, big gut, big. We had to getting the bigger and bigger Rambo knives and the bigger. I think he was just making kind of a commentary on all that, just an over the top. This whole movie is about over the top 80s.
Well, that's Paul Verhoeven.
I get that. I just want to see the scrawny white guy get like blown back by at least like a couple feet when he fires it, for the first time. Man, let's go some kick, something like that. Then he's holding a phallic symbol of his choice, and he's like, boom, and he doesn't budge. I'm like, no, dude, you be on your ass.
Yeah. But that was some of that was meant for fun. It had its point. As I liked the end. Like I think was it Mark when he said, he stops. You have the Ed 209 come over there and threaten him. He just pulls out the assault cannon and blows it away. Like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That part didn't bother me so much because that made that one made sense. But I need you guys to go kill RoboCop. So I'm going to give you the weapon that's going to be a pain in the ass to carry, and good luck.
Well, yeah, but it was intentional. It wasn't, it was supposed to be on the top and like, look, this will kill him. You hit him, he's dead. And then that was.
I just never managed to hit him with it.
Yeah.
I wish they would have kept the helmet. Just the helmet had to stay on the entire movie.
I think the point is like a drama point. Like it's an emotional connection to who he was.
See what they've done to me. I get it. I'm just saying I preferred if they would have kept the damn thing.
But the fact that it was shot through and it was broken, and he had to do the screws, which also showed you just how not human he was while he still had this human face. When the screws this long.
I actually disliked that. Like I think that is the least practical part of the design. Like, who's going to design that helmet with a screw that fucking long? But you were an engineer. Would you design something like it would have like a toggle clamp or something like that?
But I mean, it would have. But I mean, I think that was part of the whole point of it was that this was so
it was just over the top and show you what how much more pain this guy was even put through. Look at, they put 6-inch screws into his skull on each side.
no
I think
reason.
that's, well, I think it was just
It was a
I would
drama
make a
point.
dramatic point, drama point. Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
was
like a
for.
dramatic point. But there's good drama and bad one. That took me out of the verisimilitude of the moment.
Well, that word.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it that way, right?
I know you did.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm now thinking about why are you designing this way and not like, oh, that's scary.
but I think that was also to show that he went from being basically a robot automaton to that he's a human being. At that point, and you kind of feel this really great sadness in him.
Yeah. But just imagine it. Just imagine how much money it's going to cost OCP when somebody accidentally strips the bolt in the fucking head. Well, there goes our immortal robot.
You can ship a bolt this short, but yeah, no, I know.
You know what I mean.
Oh no, I know. It's
where you just had what do they call that when it's just like the two brackets in the
sure.
Yeah, I don't know what that's fucking called, like a clamp or whatever.
So overall, I think that it apparently was a black leopard that they used for.
Was a black leopard for like the growl sound? I know that they used a chicken for the complaining and the motions.
Okay, yeah,
especially the motions.
But it was that growling sound. Like why that was the one thing that took me away from the Ed 209 was it was. I would have much rather it had something much more mechanical than that. But
the other thing that killed me with it, and maybe it's because I saw a microphone, a microphone beforehand. But I'm like looking at the thing even as a kid, looking at it, I'm like, it looks like they've just put 2 legs on a microphone, and gave it a few more prosthetics.
Well, that's why I like the design from the second one better for the Ed 209 unit, which should have had a different name because it's a lot boxier in the front. It's got more square dimensions. Even the RoboCop costume is better in the second one. It's more gray than blue.
That's going back to the. I know you don't like the reboot, but I thought it was a nice little payoff when he comes on in the first suit. In the remake, it's black.
That's one of the things that I didn't like.
Black. I mean, and at the end of the movie, he comes out and it's the polished metal gray that's the same color that this one is. And I get it. I get why you didn't like it. I mean,
this one's actually blue. It's not gray.
It's a steel blue. Yeah. It's but this one. But part of that is they wanted to show him off and to give him, like when they're doing like when he's around kids, and stuff like that. It was part of the. He was not supposed to. He was supposed to be intimidating, but he was also to be kind of like a superhero.
Kind of like a marketing ploy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I see. Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah.
So that's what I took from this.
That's one thing I liked about the TV show was the cartoon. In the live action TV show, there was a cartoon called Captain Cash. It was just a superhero with a big cash symbol on his chest, and he would run around.
But what's funny is we're talking about cartoons that are aimed towards kids, and that this is a super violent rated R film, and like children should be watching this.
Yeah, they did a lot of. They pulled a lot of weird stuff in the 80s with like over the top violence because they did a Rambo cartoon, a Conan the Barbarian cartoon.
I don't know. The best cartoon out there, though, for the decade was the Karate Kid cartoon.
I never watched it.
Well, James Bond got his own cartoon.
Yeah, but there's still that's more camp than it is violence, right? So
yeah, I think
James Bond was never.
There was conversations that they were actually thinking about making a Friday the 13th style cartoon.
Oh, geez. No,
there were toys for Freddy, though. I had one when I was a kid.
Well, but sometimes some of these were like the McFarlane stuff for Spawn, was that they were aimed at the teenager and above. collector.
Yes, but that was 90s. I'm talking like late 80s. Because when the aliens toys came out, I had those. I had the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm just saying I think they weren't aimed at the. It's just like I was mentioning, which is the movie I want to do next week. I was watching the Flash Gordon cartoon from the 1970s, early 80s, and I can tell when they said, "Okay, this is going to be aimed at boys," and I said, "Well, we need to put cute things so more girls will appreciate it," and it just like,
Yeah.
it went from being a really good cartoon I thought at the time to just complete crap. You're like, stop putting this cutesy stuff, and yet that's what the marketing directors do. And they're like, oh, I don't know why no one's watching it. I'm like, well, no one's watching it because you're aiming at an audience that it's not aimed for.
It was. It had Flash Gordon, the Phantom, there's somebody else in it too. It was a weird cartoon.
Oh, not the champions, the guardians, or something like that. It was something like
Yeah,
that. It was like the legends. Ask Shadow. He knows what that show's called.
that doesn't terribly surprise me.
Yeah, because he's into all those old school. Mm.
Uh,
Anyway,
so
I think I'm going to have to get my son ready to go back to his mom. But I know that I'd said Last Starfighter, but in retrospect, I'd rather do Flash Gordon, which is even younger. Was from the 1980 Flash Gordon.
Flash, Flash,
Yeah, exactly.
Guardian Universe. I'll just listen to the soundtrack. I'm not gonna watch the movie.
before I even saw the movie. All right.
Okay.
I think we basically did everything we could do with this movie. I think it was a great choice there, Justin, and didn't even have one Nazi. I was really proud of you. Speaking of Nazis, there's
Whoa.
Yeah.
there's a book out there I just got done reading. The Man from High Castle.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
The Man in the High Tower, or High, the Man in High Cat. Oh, that's by
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, his style of writing seems familiar. What else does the son of a bitch wrote? Oh wait, Blade Runner.
Well,
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was the book, and then
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, he was totally, that guy was way out there, ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Minority Report movie. I don't know if the book's title, that was him also.
yes.
I don't know if the book's got. I don't know what the title of the book is. It's
I
probably
think
not
it's the same name.
Okay.
I think so. Don't hold me to it though.
Probably is.
It was same with Total Recall.
Yep, Total Recall. That's him too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which the remake is closer to the original story.
I believe that.
It's Willy Wonka. The Willy Wonka movie that came out back in the 70s was nothing like the book. It had strokes, but it was nothing like the book. The Johnny Depp movie that I don't even like, I basically refer to that movie as a pedophile who owns a candy factory, is more like the book. It is more closely to the book than any of the other movies are.
Yeah.
I remember my teacher reading us the book in 4th grade. And, it's like, that's fine. And then I let my son read all the stuff by Dahl. And now I've been hearing that they've been updating it for modern audiences.
Charlie, when he originally wrote the book, before the editors got to it, Charlie was a little black kid. And the editors more or less said no one would want to read about a little poor black kid.
Are you sure about that? Because they say that a lot. Because
it was the Oompa Loompas that he said were supposed to be pygmies, and he changed it.
Right. That was the other thing. It was an interview with his wife when this came. She was saying all this.
Oh well, I don't take it as forbidden then, because there's a lot of people that do that with their families.
To be honest, I enjoyed it, but the fact that they were editing the books to make it less mean and spiteful and I'm like, you understand kids like those kind of imagery and stuff
also
like that.
From Penguin, whatever, that has the right to change the book. And
we've gotten off topic.
We've gone away from the
from RoboCop.
we've mined it out.
Yeah. We've determined it's the most perfect film ever made.
It was one of them.
No, I won't go that far.
Well,
But
for the 80s.
robots that's a cop, because there's actually a few other movies that are robots that are a cop. This one was definitely the brass ring winner so far.
The class of 1999. They have the robot cops go into a high school undercover to deal with the drugs or whatever.
So next week, I think is Omenau's pick, which will be Flash. And then I think the Shadows is Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, we kind of said all that, Bear. There's a lot of we kind of pointed out there's a lot of this movie. This movie had a lot more to it than what you looking at it on the surface was. There's a lot of social commentaries about a whole lot of. There's a whole lot of layers and stuff you can peel out of this movie. There's a lot to it. Yes.
We were on topic. Let's say 90% of this episode, we were just talking on point. I mean, we went off on the other movies, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, the first 75 minutes. After that, we just started, going off.
Now I'm just saying, Omni Consumer Products did nothing wrong. I stand with Omni Consumer Products.
They pay your bottom line. All right, so Justin, what you got going on the rest of this week?
Well, when Shadow gets home, he's starting his character creation for his pirate game, and
that's going to be what is it, 8 Central?
8, yeah, something like that.
8 Central, 9 Eastern, which I'm going to have to be back for that. So
yeah.
Anyway, guys, I gotta get ready to get my son back to his mom. So
later.
Before you go, what edition is he? First edition. Okay.
First edition AD&D. If you look in his, I put in the Discord for the Player's Handbook, UA and Oriental Adventures, just so you know.
Okay, because I told Bear it was second, but I wasn't sure.
No, it's first. It's first. That's his love. He didn't like. He has issues with second, which I understand. All right. Take care, guys.
Homosexuality.
Anyways, as you said, Mark, we need to figure out when we want to start doing the Dresden Files.
I could start. I'll try to. I'll get a copy of the book. I can get a digital copy from my library. I know for sure. So I could start. I could get it tonight, and we could try to shoot for the very end of this month if you want.
Yeah,
that gives us like 10 days, whatever. Yeah.
You guys gotta hurry up and finish that, because once you're done, Connell and I are reviewing the Gilmore Girls episode by episode.
Oh yeah.
I might have to have my daughter join us.
I saw like one episode. I couldn't stand the dialogue, the way they talked in that show. It drove me crazy.
You don't want your daughter to join us, because I'm gonna be very racy on my commentary with that show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of social programming in that show that if you're not aware of.
I mainly watch that show on mute. No,
with a bottle of lube.
Anyways, so yeah, we'll be doing the Dresden Files here soon. I've already got started on the book, but
okay.
As soon as you're done, let me know, and we'll knock.
All right, and we'll figure out a time and we'll discuss it. We'll try to break it down. Yeah.
That sounds great.
What book are you on, or are you just restarting?
Summer Night.
Summer Night. I think it's number 4. I think that's number 4. I think that's number 4.
Yeah. Full Moon. Wait. Yeah, it's number 4. And he needs to hurry come out with his next book. So with that being,
I don't know.
He said 18 books. No, he said 25 books, and he's on number 18.
I don't know if I can go back to the series. We'll
talk about that when Mark is at the where you're at.
Yeah, I'm trying not to ruin it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, y'all out in the other side of the cameras are watching us. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you haven't seen the 1987 RoboCop. Guess what? You should go see it. You should go take your kids to go see it, or your grandkids see it at this juncture.
Yeah, 5 is a good age to see RoboCop at. If your kids can't handle RoboCop at 5 or 6 years old, they need therapy, torture therapy.
Or it
Oh,
will be the
jeez.
foster therapy, one of the two.
They need to grow a pair. Man up, you stupid little brat.
I'm tired, Grandpa. You're damn bad.
There's